At the beginning of the drama, we are introduced to the chairman of Choice Company, a powerful businessman named Kang. At the moment, he is testing one of the company's cars. While examining the vehicle, he turns to his secretary, Sang Yi, and tells him to gather all the company presidents because he has something important to discuss with them. Meanwhile, we are introduced to the male lead of the drama, Jun, who is a talented football player. Because of his impressive skills on the field, Choice Group decides to recruit him and offers him a contract worth 500 million won. Naturally, Jun is overjoyed by the offer. Soon, he officially joins the Choice Football Club, and photos of him are taken for promotional purposes, making him feel like his career is finally taking off. The scene then shifts back to Chairman Kang. Here, we are introduced to his son and daughter. As soon as everyone gathers, Kang begins criticizing them one by one. He reminds them that the company's goal was to rank among the top 5 businesses in the industry. However, judging by their current performance, it looks like they might not even make it into the top 10. After scolding everyone, Kang reveals something unexpected. He says that he is getting old and can no longer manage the company forever. Because of this, he plans to hand over his position as chairman to one of his children. However, before making that decision, he wants to see who is truly capable of leading the company. So he gives both his son and daughter exactly 1 month to prove themselves. Within that time, they must show him who is the better successor. As soon as Kang finishes speaking, he starts walking away. However, both siblings immediately follow him. The older son, whose name is Sang, and the younger daughter, Gyung, begin arguing with him and ask why he cannot simply choose a successor right now. But Kang refuses. He tells them that there is a reason he is giving them 1 month. During that time, they must prove which one of them deserves the chairman's seat. After hearing this, both siblings begin working on their own plans. However, neither of them is particularly interested in putting in honest effort. Instead, they both prefer taking shortcuts whenever possible, hoping to gain an advantage without doing too much work. Later, Kang returns to his office, where Sang Yi starts discussing the situation with him. Sang Yi points out that it almost seems as if Kang is intentionally creating a rivalry between his son and daughter. Hearing this, Kang simply smiles and says that he just wants to find out which one of them is truly better. Besides, watching the competition between them is going to be very entertaining. With that, the chairman leaves for home. On the way, we see Sang Yi talking to someone on the phone. He asks whether the task he had previously ordered has been completed. Although we don't know what he's referring to yet, it is clear that something secret is happening behind the scenes. In the next scene, we meet the Kang family as they sit together for dinner. Even during the meal, Sang and Gyung cannot stop talking about business. They keep explaining their projects to Chairman Kang, hoping to impress him. However, Kang quickly becomes annoyed. He tells them not to start talking about profits and losses already. He isn't interested in hearing those reports at the dinner table. At the same time, we are introduced to Kang's wife. She has recently learned that her husband plans to step down as chairman, and naturally, she is concerned. She asks if something is wrong or if the company is facing some kind of problem. However, Kang reassures her. He explains that he has simply grown older and feels it is time to enjoy life. Instead of spending all his time working, he should travel and relax with his wife. Hearing this, she feels that it is actually a good idea. Just then, Sang Yi suddenly arrives and tells Kang that he needs to come with him because there is something important they must take care of. Surprisingly, Kang doesn't ask any questions. He simply gets up and leaves with Sang Yi, while his wife remains at home. After he leaves, she decides to call her daughter. This is where we are finally introduced to the female lead of the drama, Gül. During the call, Gül's mother tells her that her father is preparing to choose a new chairman for the company. Since her brother and sister are competing for the position, she thinks Gül should spend more time with her family during this important period. She then asks her daughter when she plans to return from America. However, Gül doesn't seem interested in the discussion at all. Without giving a proper answer, she refuses to come back and simply hangs up the phone, leaving her mother disappointed. After that, we see Chairman Kang sitting inside a car, carefully reading a file. However, this is not an ordinary document. The file contains records of all the corruption and illegal activities committed by his son Sang and his daughter Gyung. In other words, it contains evidence of all the scandals and shady deals they have been involved in. Once he finishes reviewing the file, Kang and his secretary Sang Yi get out of the car and continue on foot. At that exact moment, Sang and Gyeong arrive nearby. Looking through the car window, they notice that their father had been examining some important documents. Immediately, both of them become nervous. They start whispering to each other, wondering if the file contains proof of all the corruption they have committed over the years. The more they think about it, the more frightened they become. Soon, they notice a memory card inside the vehicle and quickly take it out. However, instead of working together, they immediately start arguing over it. Just then, a security guard approaches the area. Not wanting to get caught, the two siblings quickly start the car and drive away. The sound of the engine catches Kang's attention, causing him and Sang-yi to return to the parking area. When they arrive, the guard lies to them and claims that someone probably took the car, but he will investigate and find out who did it. However, Kang already knows exactly what happened. Because of that, he simply tells the guard that there is no need to investigate any further. The next scene introduces us to Jun's grandmother. Jun is having a video call with her, and she looks incredibly happy while talking to her grandson. It becomes clear that Jun has been working hard and chasing his football dreams, largely for his grandmother's sake. Meanwhile, Sang and Gyeong are busy watching the footage from the car's dash cam. Because they are completely focused on the video, neither of them is paying attention to the road ahead. At the same time, Jun is walking nearby while talking to his grandmother through the video call. And then, disaster strikes. Without noticing him, Sang and Gyeong drive straight into Jun. The impact is so sudden that Jun is sent flying. However, the video call is still running, which means Jun's grandmother briefly captures the car's license plate on her screen before the vehicle speeds away. Instead of stopping to help, Sang and Gyeong immediately flee the scene. Soon afterward, Jun is rushed to the hospital. Meanwhile, the guilty siblings begin panicking. They realize that they must erase every possible piece of evidence connected to the accident, so they start covering their tracks. They arrange for the nearby CCTV footage to be deleted. They even have the bloodstains on the road cleaned up. After that, they return the damaged car to the garage and place it back exactly where it was before, hoping nobody will suspect anything. Later, Chairman Kang visits the garage and immediately notices that something feels wrong. Looking closely, he realizes that the car's lights have been replaced. Suspicious, he begins checking the dash cam. That is when he discovers that the memory card is missing. After realizing this, the security guard finally confesses everything. He apologizes and admits that Sang and Gyeong ordered him not to tell anyone what happened. As Kang learns more about the situation, he and Sang-yi begin discussing the victim, Jun, and wondering what kind of person he is. The scene then shifts to the hospital, where Jun finally regains consciousness. Confused, he looks around and tries to understand what happened. Almost immediately, he checks his legs. Just then, a doctor enters the room and delivers devastating news. The doctor tells him that he will never be able to play football again. Hearing those words, Jun completely breaks. With tears in his eyes, he says that the doctor has no idea how much he sacrificed for football. It wasn't just a hobby for him. It was his entire life. Everything he worked for has now been taken away in a single moment. In the next scene, we see Sang-yi meeting Chairman Kang once again. Kang tells him to bury all the documents they have gathered and make sure nobody ever finds them. Afterward, he takes Sang-yi to a secret room hidden away from everyone else. Inside the room, there are enormous amounts of gold and valuable assets stored away. It is basically a secret vault that very few people know about. Kang takes the corruption file from Sang-yi and carefully places it inside the vault, keeping it hidden from the rest of the world. Meanwhile, Jun receives a call from his grandmother. However, he refuses to answer. Instead, he struggles to stand up and walk, desperately trying to see whether there is still any hope for his future. Later, we see Kang and Sang-yi eating together. During their conversation, Sang-yi makes a surprising confession. He says that he plans to continue working for the company only as long as Kang remains there. The moment Kang steps down, he intends to leave as well. Kang then admits something that has been bothering him for a long time. He says that neither Sang nor Gyeong seems capable of properly running the company. In fact, he doesn't believe either of them can protect the future of Choice Group. And no matter what happens, he must find a way to protect the company he spent his entire life building. After that, Jun suddenly remembers part of the license plate number of the car that hit him. Believing this could finally help him get justice, he goes straight to the police station. Unfortunately, he cannot remember the complete number. Since he only has a partial plate number and no solid evidence, the police officer refuses to take his complaint seriously. The moment Jun leaves, we discover that the officer is actually working with Gyeong. He immediately sends her a message, informing her that the boy doesn't remember anything important and has no real evidence against them. Hearing this, Gyeong feels relieved. However, she doesn't stop there. To completely destroy Jun's future, she uses her influence to get him kicked out of his football club. As if that wasn't enough, she also leaves him with a debt of 1 billion won. When Jun learns about this, he is absolutely devastated. Everything he worked for is falling apart one piece at a time. At one point, he even joins a protest, desperately trying to fight back against the injustice he is facing. While dealing with all of this, Jun receives a call from the caretaker who looks after his grandmother. Jun tells her that despite all his efforts, he still hasn't found any evidence against the people responsible for the accident. However, the caretaker suddenly reminds him about a video she had previously sent him. She asks whether he actually checked it. This is when we learn something important. The caretaker has a habit of recording all of her video calls. After hearing her words, Jun immediately watches the recording, and finally, he finds what he has been searching for. The video clearly captures the license plate of the vehicle that hit him. After tracing the number, Jun discovers that the car belongs to Chairman Kang. Now that he finally has proof, he heads directly to Choice Group's headquarters. When he arrives, he hands a file to the receptionist and says that it is extremely important and must be delivered to the chairman personally. Eventually, the file reaches Kang's office. As he opens it, several photographs fall onto his desk. The photos show his car. More specifically, they show the damaged vehicle involved in the accident. Seeing the evidence, Kang immediately orders his staff to bring Jun to his office. Once Jun arrives, the chairman asks him what exactly he is trying to achieve by showing him those photographs. Jun calmly explains that he is misunderstanding the situation. Then he shows Kang the video recording. The moment Kang watches it, he finally realizes the truth. The replaced headlights, the missing memory card, the suspicious behavior, everything suddenly makes sense. His children really did hit someone with the car. After understanding the situation, Kang gets straight to the point. Instead of arguing, he asks Jun a simple question. "How much money do you want?" Jun is stunned by the response. Kang continues saying that an apology won't change anything, so it would be better to settle the matter financially. Hearing this immediately makes Jun angry. He tells the chairman that money cannot fix his life. His football career is over. His dreams have been destroyed. No amount of compensation can give him that back. Meanwhile, Kang requests Jun's personal file and starts reviewing it. After looking through the documents, he says something that only makes Jun even more furious. Kang explains that even if Jun had become one of the company's top football players, he probably would have earned only around 5 million won during his career. Then, without hesitation, he hands Jun a blank check. He tells him to write whatever amount he wants and live comfortably for the rest of his life. At this point, Jun is boiling with anger. To him, it feels as if the chairman is trying to put a price on his dreams. Just then, the chairman's assistant enters the office and informs him that the company presidents are about to arrive for a meeting. As soon as Kang hears this, his attitude changes. He warns Jun that if he comes back again later, he won't receive anything at all. In other words, this is his only chance to take the money and walk away. Soon afterward, Jun leaves the office. As he walks through the building, he passes Sang and Gyeong, the very people responsible for ruining his life. At the same time, he is still holding the blank check in his hand. Then his phone starts ringing. It is his grandmother. Jun answers the call and begins talking to her. But the moment he hears her voice, all of the emotions he has been holding back start overwhelming him. Unable to continue the conversation, he suddenly hangs up. Standing there alone, he finally breaks down and starts crying. With tears running down his face, he quietly says, "Grandma, the promise I made to you. It looks like I might not be able to keep it." After that, Jun stares at the blank check for a long time before finally starting to write down the amount of money he wants. Meanwhile, we see Chairman Kang furiously confronting his son Sang and daughter Gyeong. Both of them are kneeling on the floor and desperately apologizing. However, Kang is far too angry to listen. He tells them that neither of them is worthy of running the company. In fact, he is so disappointed that he declares he will announce at the next board meeting that neither Sang nor Gyeong will become the next chairman of Choice Group. After saying this, Kang storms off. He heads toward the elevator while his son and daughter rush after him using the stairs. At the same time, Jun is also inside the building and is making his way upstairs. Everything seems normal for a moment, but then a terrible accident happens. As Sang runs down the stairs, he suddenly loses his footing. Unable to stop himself, he crashes straight into Chairman Kang from behind. The force of the impact sends Kang tumbling forward. At that exact moment, Jun is coming from the opposite direction, and before anyone can react, Kang's head collides directly with Jun's. The crash is so violent that both of them immediately lose consciousness. The next thing we see is Chairman Kang opening his eyes inside a hospital room. At first, he is confused. However, something feels very strange. When he looks at his hands and legs, they appear much younger than before. Completely shocked, he starts examining himself. Then he rushes to look at his face, and that is when he realizes something unbelievable. He is no longer in his own body. Somehow, his consciousness has been transferred into June's body. Unable to believe what has happened, he keeps looking at himself in complete disbelief. He then asks the doctor where he is, trying to figure out what exactly is going on. Meanwhile, on the other side of the hospital, Kang's original body is still unconscious. His entire family has gathered around his hospital bed. At that moment, Sang Yi begins questioning Sang and Gyeong. He asks why they were running after the chairman and why they seemed desperate to stop him. He also reminds them that they had just come from the office and asks what happened during their meeting with Kang. However, both siblings avoid answering. They pretend that nothing unusual happened and claim they were simply running through the hallway. Back on June's side, Kang, who is now trapped inside June's body, arrives near the area where his family is gathered. From a distance, he watches all of them standing outside the hospital room. Just then, Sang Yi walks out of the room. At the same time, a news article is suddenly published online. While watching a television screen, Kang sees breaking news about the hit-and-run accident involving the chairman's car. The report claims that Chairman Kang was responsible for the accident. But that isn't all. The news also accuses him of attacking the victim in his office afterward. Naturally, everyone starts talking about the scandal. Then, Sang and Gyeong step forward and make a shocking statement in front of the reporters. They publicly admit that their father was the one who hit the young man with the car. The moment Kang hears this, he becomes furious. After all, he knows exactly what they are doing. His own children are pushing all the blame onto him in order to protect themselves. Filled with rage, he immediately rushes toward them and enters the hospital room where his unconscious body is lying. Seeing his own body on the bed feels surreal. He then tells his wife to move aside because he wants to return to his original body. Of course, nobody can understand what he is saying since they believe he is just June. However, just as he gets close to his unconscious body, something strange happens. A sharp pain suddenly shoots through his head. The pain becomes so intense that he can barely stand. He grabs his head and struggles to keep his balance as the agony grows stronger and stronger. However, the moment he got close to it, he was struck by an unbearable headache. Everyone rushes into the hospital room, and June is quickly escorted away from the area. At this moment, Kang finally realizes something terrifying. If he gets too close to his original body, both he and June might end up dying. In other words, whatever strange phenomenon caused this body swap could become even more dangerous if he interferes with it. Right now, Chairman Kang is trapped inside June's body, and several people are trying to hold him back. However, he suddenly breaks free and runs away. Just then, someone grabs him and pulls him into a nearby corner. It's Gul. She saves him from being caught and brings him to a quieter area. The first thing she asks is whether he was the person who leaked information to the news reporters. Of course, Gul has no idea that the person standing in front of her is actually her father, trapped inside June's body. Meanwhile, Kang is equally shocked to see her. He immediately asks what she's doing here. After all, the last time he knew, she was living in New York. At that moment, Gul is wearing an employee badge from Choice Group. Seeing this, Kang becomes even more confused and asks who told her she could work at his company. Before he can say anything else, Jewel grabs his arm and twists it. The chairman is clearly not used to being treated this way. June's body might be young, but the soul inside is still a powerful chairman who has spent his entire life giving orders. Trying to change the subject, he tells Jewel that she should be worrying about her father right now. But Jewel gives a surprising answer. She says that at this moment, she needs to think about herself first. Then she adds that she also has someone she wants revenge against. Just as the conversation becomes more interesting, several people begin approaching them. Without saying another word, Gul quickly leaves the area. A little later, Kang's son Sang and daughter Gyeong arrive. They sit down with June and start asking questions. They want to know exactly what happened between him and their father. However, Kang has no intention of revealing the truth, so he avoids giving them any useful information. Meanwhile, Gul overhears an important conversation. She secretly listens as Sang Yi reveals to a woman that he believes the twins were responsible for the accident, not Chairman Kang. Hearing this immediately catches Gul's attention, and she begins wondering whether her brother and sister are involved. Before she can think further, her mother suddenly appears and takes her into Chairman Kang's private hospital room. Once they are alone, her mother asks why she returned from New York. She reminds Gul that she promised to stay away from Choice Group because dangerous people are inside the company. Her mother also reassures her that Kang will recover soon. Elsewhere, employees and executives are busy gossiping. Everyone is discussing the same question. Was the hit and run committed by Chairman Kang, or were his children responsible? Gul secretly reads all these discussions and pays close attention to every rumor. In the next scene, we see Sang and Gyeong talking privately. The twins seem completely confident. They remind each other that they already stole and deleted Jun's video footage. They also believe they have handled their father and everyone involved. According to them, there is only one problem left, and that problem is Jun. Soon afterward, they meet him and begin acting concerned. Ironically, they have no idea they are talking to their own father. Kang, trapped inside Jun's body, tells them they should be more concerned about their father. But the twins simply shrug and say there is nothing to worry about because their father is already old. Then they ask whether he saw the people who hit him with the car, especially their father's face. At this point, Kang can barely control his anger. After everything they have done, they are still trying to frame him. Finally, he tells them that their father was actually trying to protect them. Of course, neither Sang nor Gyeong understands what he really means. However, they continue insisting that their father caused the accident. The next scene takes us to Choice Group's headquarters. Rumors are spreading everywhere. Some employees believe Chairman Kang is pretending to be in a coma. Others believe Sang and Gyeong caused the hit and run, and that their father is taking the blame for them. Meanwhile, Gyeong makes things worse by speaking to reporters and openly claiming that her father is responsible for everything. She even complains that because of him, she and her brother could never properly run the company. Afterward, Sang and Gyeong enter an elevator together. Once they are alone, Sang worries about what will happen if Kang wakes up and discovers what they have been saying. But Gyeong remains calm. She reveals that the hospital treating their father is also where her husband works. Then she drops a shocking bombshell. According to her, Kang is never going to wake up because she has already taken care of everything. As far as she is concerned, the only remaining problem is Jun. Meanwhile, Chairman Kang secretly leaves the hospital through a hidden exit and arrives outside the company. There, he discovers that the public has started questioning Choice Group's future. At the same time, a shareholders' meeting is taking place. Many executives want to appoint a new chairman immediately. However, Sang Yi insists that no decision should be made until the truth is known. Suddenly, a man rushes into the meeting and announces that Jun is speaking to the media. The moment everyone hears this, panic spreads. Sang and Gyeong immediately fear that Jun might reveal the truth, so everyone rushes to the scene. But what happens next surprises everyone. Standing before the reporters, Kang, still inside Jun's body, takes all the blame and publicly claims that the accident was caused by Chairman Kang. Of course, he is talking about himself. The reason is simple. More than anything, he wants to protect Choice Group. Soon, the twins arrive. Pretending to be caring children, they tell the media that they will support Jun and help him overcome the problems caused by their father's actions. Naturally, they are only trying to improve their public image. Meanwhile, we see Gail walking away. Suddenly, Sang Yi catches up to her and asks why she is here. Gail refuses to explain. Instead, she tells him that when the time is right, she will reveal everything herself. Until then, she wants him to keep her presence a secret from her siblings. After saying that, she walks away. Elsewhere, Kang decides to visit Jun's home. Using Jun's identification, he manages to get inside. However, the moment he enters, he is horrified. The house is a complete mess. After looking around briefly, Kang immediately leaves, declaring that he cannot stay there even for a minute. Despite all the problems he is facing, there is one thing he secretly enjoys. For the first time in years, he has a young and healthy body. As he thinks about his situation, he realizes that he needs to retrieve his cane and important belongings from his old room. Meanwhile, Sang and Gyeong continue discussing Jun. The twins have started becoming suspicious because he escaped from the hospital and keeps behaving in strange ways. Elsewhere, we see Gyeong's husband secretly placing a syringe inside Chairman Kang's room. Afterward, he sends a message informing Gyeong that the item she requested has been delivered. This immediately makes the situation feel even more dangerous. And finally, we see Chairman Kang sneaking back into the hospital and entering the room where his unconscious body is lying. It seems that he is finally ready to uncover what his children are planning. Meanwhile, Chairman Kang retrieves his cane. However, just as he is about to leave, the twins arrive. The situation immediately becomes dangerous. Then, something unexpected happens. The unconscious Chairman Kang suddenly shows signs of waking up. The moment Gyeong sees this, she panics. Without hesitation, she grabs a pillow and presses it over the chairman's face. In other words, she is trying to kill her own father. Thankfully, before it's too late, the hospital alarm is triggered. Realizing they are about to get caught, Sang and Gyeong quickly flee the scene. At the same time, Kang escapes as well. However, someone notices him leaving. It's Gul. After seeing Jun running away, she immediately heads toward her father's room. Meanwhile, Kang is completely devastated. His own children were willing to murder him. Unable to hold back his emotions, he begins crying and says that he wishes he had never lived long enough to see a day like this. Back at the hospital, Gyeong's husband claims that the chairman suffered a cardiac arrest and that his condition has become even worse. While this is happening, we are introduced to a mysterious woman. She calls an elderly man and informs him that Chairman Kang does not have much time left to live. Hearing this news makes the old man very happy. Elsewhere, Kang is still overwhelmed with sadness. As he sits alone, he pulls out the blank check he had given to June. This is when he notices something surprising. Instead of writing a money amount, June had written only one thing: choice group. In other words, June didn't want money. What he wanted was the company itself. After seeing this, Kang smiles slightly and decides that somehow he will make sure June gets choice group. Soon afterward, he approaches the twins and tells them that he wants to discuss a settlement. However, instead of asking for money, he requests a job at the company. In the next scene, we see the former chairman beginning work at his own company, but now as a simple intern. A man who once controlled the entire corporation is now starting from the very bottom. While walking through the office, he sees Sang-yi. The moment he sees his loyal secretary, he becomes emotional. After all, Sang-yi was one of the few people who genuinely cared about him. Quietly, Kang says that he cares about the chairman just as much and promises that one day he will come to him for help. Meanwhile, the employees are busy discussing June. Many are shocked that a former football star has suddenly joined the company. Nobody wants to train him. Then, from the back of the room, Jiul steps forward and volunteers to teach him. Just then, Kang arrives and accidentally forgets that he is supposed to be an intern. He casually asks about company projects like a chairman would. The employees stare at him in confusion. Before he can expose himself any further, Gul quickly drags him outside and scolds him for acting like the chairman instead of a normal employee. A little later, Kang genuinely asks what interns are supposed to do. Soon, he finds himself sitting in front of a computer. Gul walks over and notices that he cannot even use Excel properly. This quickly turns into another argument. During the conversation, Kang accidentally calls her the chairman's daughter. The moment those words leave his mouth, Gul immediately drags him aside again and warns him never to reveal her identity. Later, we see Gul thinking about everything that has happened. She remembers seeing June near her father when the cardiac arrest incident occurred. Because of this, she remains suspicious of him and decides to keep a close eye on him. In the final scene, Kang visits his manager and starts asking questions about Gul. The manager explains that Gul helps with almost everything and is one of the most reliable people in the department. He also reveals that despite being the chairman's daughter, she is treated almost like an assistant who does everyone else's work. The moment Kang hears this, he gets angry. He cannot believe that his precious daughter is being treated this way. Later, the employees begin leaving the office together. At that moment, Kang loudly announces that nobody has taught him how to use Excel yet. Since nobody volunteers, he insists that Gul teach him personally. However, Jiul ignores him and leaves with the others for a company dinner party. As a result, Kang ends up sitting there all alone. That night, he secretly logs into his old account and copies important company documents onto a flash drive. Afterward, he sneaks into his former office. Using his special cane, he opens a hidden locker. Inside, he finds cash, gold, and a VIP card. Naturally, he takes everything useful before leaving. Meanwhile, Jiul is meeting with several people. During their conversation, she quietly gathers information about corruption and suspicious activities inside Choice Group. It becomes clear that she is conducting her own investigation. On the other hand, Kang begins enjoying parts of his former luxurious lifestyle again. Although he is stuck in June's body, he still knows where all the company's secrets are hidden. In the next scene, Kang visits the hospital. There, he secretly gives a nurse some money and asks her to keep him updated on Chairman Kang's condition while doing whatever she can to help him recover. After that, he hands her a letter and instructs her to deliver it directly to Sang-yi. The nurse agrees. Later, she meets Sang-yi and tells him that when the chairman briefly regained consciousness, he wrote a letter and asked for it to be delivered. Naturally, Sang-yi immediately takes it. The scene then shifts back to the office. Gail approaches Kang and hands him a file. At that moment, Kang casually asks whether she likes June's face. Meanwhile, Jiul is secretly thinking something completely different. She still believes June is hiding something and wants to learn the truth about him. Soon afterward, everyone attends a company meeting. Jiul is about to speak, but before she can say anything, Kang suddenly takes the microphone from her. To everyone's surprise, he starts talking about 3 suspicious companies and advises Choice Group to stay away from them. The room immediately becomes silent. Jiul is completely shocked. The reason is simple. She was about to warn everyone about those exact same companies. Now she cannot understand how June knows information that should have been confidential. At the same time, Sang becomes furious and starts wondering how Jiul discovered information about those companies in the first place. Meanwhile, Gul confronts Kang directly. She asks him how he knows all of this and reminds him that he used to be on Sang's side. Kang gives a mysterious answer. He points towards Sang Yi and says that he is on his side. After saying that, he simply walks away. Gale is left standing there completely confused. The next scene focuses on Sang Yi. He finally opens the letter that was supposedly written by Chairman Kang. As everyone listens, he begins reading it aloud. The contents leave the entire room speechless. The letter states that none of Kang's blood relatives will inherit Choice Group. In other words, neither Sang nor Gyeong will become chairman. Instead, any employee within Choice Group should be eligible to become the next chairman if they prove themselves worthy. The twins are immediately outraged and insist that the letter is fake. However, Sang Yi calmly explains that handwriting experts verified it. All of them confirmed that it belongs to Chairman Kang. The moment they hear this, the twins are completely stunned. And then, at the perfect moment, Kang himself walks into the room. Of course, he is still inside Jun's body. With a confident smile, he looks at everyone and asks, "So, does that mean I can become the next chairman of this company?" After the meeting ends, everyone leaves while discussing Jun. After all, he is a newcomer who joined only recently, yet he suddenly asked whether he could become chairman. Meanwhile, Gul hears these conversations and starts wondering what Jun has done this time. Just then, Gyeong approaches her and asks why she is here. At the same time, Sang corners Jun in another location. He grabs him by the collar and angrily demands to know what he was doing inside the meeting. Thinking quickly, Kang pretends to be confused. He claims that his memory has been acting strangely ever since the accident, and that he sometimes cannot remember what he says or does. Soon, other people arrive, forcing Sang to calm down. Jun continues his act and explains that he only mentioned those 3 suspicious companies because someone from his department told him to research them. Other than that, he claims he knows absolutely nothing. Still suspicious, Sang asks whether he knows anything else, but Jun immediately denies it. Once Sang turns away, Kang quietly smiles to himself. In his mind, he makes a promise. One way or another, he is going to take back both his company and his position. Meanwhile, Sang begins speaking with 2 executives. He orders them to freeze an account containing a large slush fund. The reason is obvious. He wants to make sure nobody discovers the hidden money or traces it back to him. At the same time, he discusses ways to keep those suspicious companies hidden from public scrutiny. Just then, an employee arrives and informs him that Gyeong is looking for him. Apparently, there is an important family matter they need to discuss. In the next scene, Sang joins Gyeong. There, they find Gul waiting for them. The 2 siblings immediately begin questioning her. They want to know why she returned and what she plans to do. During the conversation, they also discover that Gul has been secretly working inside Choice Group as an intern. Wanting to test her loyalty, Sang and Gyeong make a shocking request. They ask Gul to transfer her share of the family property to them. In return, they tell her that she can freely visit home and spend time with their mother again. To everyone's surprise, Gul agrees and signs over her property rights. Later, she tells her mother about the decision. However, someone else overhears the conversation. It's Kang. The moment he learns what happened, he becomes suspicious. He starts wondering what his son and daughter demanded from Gul in exchange for her inheritance. As Gul turns around, she notices Jun standing nearby. Immediately, she asks why he is listening to her personal matters. Later on, Gul continues investigating the company. We see several scenes where she secretly listens to executives, meets different people, and gathers information about company approvals and business deals. Throughout all of this, Kang watches from a distance. The more he observes, the more curious he becomes about what his daughter is really trying to uncover. In the next scene, Kang returns to his secret room once again. This time, he plans to retrieve more money. However, just as he is leaving, someone suddenly appears. It's Gul. Before he can escape, she catches him red-handed. Gul immediately becomes suspicious and demands to know how he knows the access code to Chairman Kang's secret room. She assumes Sang and Gyeong must have sent him. Trying to calm the situation down, Kang asks her to let go of him first. He promises that he will explain everything. A little later, the 2 of them are standing on the rooftop. There, Kang begins revealing part of the truth. He tells Gul that the access code was given to him by her father. Naturally, Gul finds that impossible to believe. Then he drops an even bigger bombshell. Looking directly at her, he tells her that the people responsible for the hit-and-run accident were not Chairman Kang. The real culprits were her own brother and sister. In other words, Sang and Gyeong were the ones who hit him with the car and have been hiding the truth ever since. And with that shocking revelation, the story takes another dramatic turn. However, Kang tells Gul that everything he has done so far was because her father asked him to. Hearing that immediately makes Gul angry. She tells him that if he is telling the truth, then he should publicly expose Sang and Gyeong. But Kang shakes his head. He explains that he doesn't have any solid evidence. Without proof, nobody would believe him. Even so, Gul keeps insisting that he should tell everyone anyway. At this point, Kang turns the conversation around. He tells Gul that maybe she wants her brother and sister removed from power so that she can control the company herself. After all, he has seen her secretly collecting information and listening to important conversations around the company. The accusation instantly angers Gul. She punches him and tells him that he completely misunderstands her. But Kang doesn't back down. He tells her that if her intentions are truly honest, then she should help him. He reminds her that even Chairman Kang believed Sang and Gyeong were unfit to run Choice Group. Gul doesn't answer. Instead, she silently walks away. The next day, Gul visits her family home. As she spends time there, she notices something strange. Her mother is doing household chores all over the house. The more she watches, the more uncomfortable she becomes. It almost looks as if her mother is working there as a servant rather than as the wife of the chairman. Soon, her mother takes her to her room, and the two begin talking privately. While speaking with her mother, Gul becomes even more aware of how poorly she is being treated inside her own home. A little later, Gyeong arrives. She coldly warns Gul not to cause any trouble while she is there. After delivering the warning, she leaves. Watching her walk away, Gul quietly promises herself that she will make all of them pay for what they've done. Meanwhile, major news is spreading throughout Choice Group. Everyone now knows that neither Sang nor Gyeong is guaranteed to become the next chairman. Until a successor is chosen, Sang Yi will temporarily oversee many of the chairman's responsibilities. We then see Sang Yi meeting with one of his assistants. He secretly orders them to keep an eye on a manager connected to the company vehicles. On top of that, he assigns an audit team to investigate him. Clearly, Sang Yi has started conducting his own investigation into the hit-and-run case. Back at the office, Gul and Kang arrive together. As soon as they enter, they notice employees frantically handling customer calls. Apparently, there is a serious sales issue. However, the problem belongs to Team 3. Yet Team 2 is being blamed for it. Seeing this, Kang becomes annoyed. Without thinking, he starts criticizing the way the situation is being handled. Everyone around him simply stares. For a moment, it feels like the chairman himself is speaking through an ordinary intern. Later, Kang approaches his manager. He tells him that instead of yelling from behind a desk, it would be smarter to personally visit the site and find out what is really happening. According to him, the only way to understand a problem is to see it firsthand. Eventually, the manager and Kang travel to the location. While they are talking, a Team 3 employee suddenly appears. Not realizing the manager is standing right behind him, the employee starts speaking badly about him. Then he turns around and freezes. The manager is standing right there. Immediately, the employee starts apologizing, but the manager is already angry. Meanwhile, Kang takes advantage of the situation. He points out that the employee openly insulted his superior and says that behavior like that shouldn't be ignored. As a result, the manager finally decides to take action. At the same time, he becomes convinced by Kang's earlier suggestion. He announces that from now on, he will personally visit clients and sales locations, instead of relying only on reports. However, the higher-level manager isn't fully convinced yet, and it looks like Kang will have to work even harder if he wants to change the way the company operates. Just then, Chairman Kang arrives at the scene. The manager, who is already frustrated, becomes even angrier when he sees him. He immediately assumes that June is the reason his employees suddenly started questioning company procedures. However, Kang calmly steps forward and starts talking about the company's performance. Soon, he explains how the current system is wasting money and allowing unnecessary funds to disappear through poor management. Everyone is surprised by how much he understands. After listening for a while, the manager starts taking his words seriously. Eventually, he promises to send a report directly to the director and investigate the issue himself. Afterward, the manager and Kang walk outside together. At that moment, Gul arrives. Meanwhile, Kang receives a call from the caretaker who looks after June's grandmother. The woman sounds worried. She tells him that his grandmother has disappeared and may be trying to find him. Surprisingly, Kang doesn't react the way June normally would. Instead, he casually says that they should probably call the police. The response immediately annoys his manager. He looks at him in disbelief and says that if his grandmother has gone missing, he should be searching for her himself. As Kang stands there, he suddenly realizes the problem. He may be living in June's body, but he isn't actually June. That's why his reaction seems so strange. Soon, he tries to leave, but no taxi drivers are willing to stop for him. Just then, Gul arrives and offers him a ride. Elsewhere, Sang is holding a secret meeting with one of his executives. They begin discussing the hidden hidden slush fund. The executive, whose name is Song, suggests transferring the money into another account before anyone can trace it. Sang immediately agrees. After receiving approval, Song secretly sends a message to someone, informing them that the plan can move forward. The story then shifts to another important group. We see Song's wife sitting with her father. During their conversation, they openly discuss their long-term plan to take control of Choice Group. The father reveals that he intentionally arranged his daughter's marriage to Sang because he wanted a path into the company. In other words, this entire marriage may have been part of a much bigger scheme. Meanwhile, Sang arrives at a dinner gathering and meets with several important people. After the dinner ends, Sang Yi leaves while the others remain behind. At the same time, Gyung is visiting the hospital and speaking privately with her husband. The doctor finally reaches his limit. He tells Gyung that he can no longer keep Chairman Kong unconscious. As a doctor, he knows what he is doing is unethical. However, Gyung pressures him until he reluctantly agrees to continue helping her. Elsewhere, Kong finally finds Jun's grandmother. However, the elderly woman doesn't recognize him. That's because she suffers from dementia. Trying to make her comfortable, Kong buys her a t-shirt and spends time with her. Because of her condition, she mistakes him for someone else and even tries to kiss him affectionately. Needless to say, Kang is extremely uncomfortable. A short time later, Gyul arrives and helps bring Jun's grandmother to the hospital. As they sit together, Jun's grandmother keeps holding Kang's hand tightly. Watching this, Gyul smiles slightly and says that his grandmother must love him very much. Then her expression changes. She quietly admits that her own father never showed her that kind of affection. We then see a flashback from her childhood. Years ago, her father sent her overseas to study. Because of that, she grew up believing that he never truly cared about her. Returning to the present, Kang responds in a way only a father would. He tells her that her father didn't send her away because he didn't love her. He did it because he believed it was best for her future. The moment those words leave his mouth, Gyul looks at him strangely. For a brief second, it sounded less like Jun speaking and more like Chairman Kong himself. After hearing that, Gaewol immediately asks him why he is always defending her father. Before Kong can answer, they arrive at the hospital. Meanwhile, Kong secretly meets with the nurse he has been paying. He gives her more money and tells her to continue taking care of the chairman's body. By now, the nurse has even installed a hidden camera in the room. Elsewhere, Team 3 is preparing for a major investigation. They have finally received approval to inspect one of the suspicious companies that Kang warned everyone about. When they arrive, the team leader starts inspecting everything. However, 2 key employees are nowhere to be found. At the same time, one of the workers secretly calls Executive Song. The moment Kang and Gyul learn about this connection, they start following him. While tracking Song's movements, Kang reveals an important secret. He explains that Song manages Sang's slush funds. Meanwhile, news of the investigation reaches Sang. At first, he isn't worried. He assumes Song will handle the situation. But things don't go according to plan. As Kang and Gyul continue following Song, they discover that he isn't heading to the factory. Instead, he goes directly to Jae Si-young's house. The moment Kang sees this, everything starts making sense. He realizes that Jae Si-young has been secretly trying to take over Choice Group and that Song may have been planted inside the company years ago. At the same time, Sang receives another piece of bad news. He learns that Song never arrived at the factory. Feeling uneasy, he immediately checks his hidden accounts. The result leaves him horrified. Every single cent of his slush fund has disappeared. Panicking, Sang orders his assistant to find Song immediately. Meanwhile, Song visits his family one last time. He gives them money and tells them to leave the country as soon as possible. Clearly, he knows something dangerous is about to happen. Soon afterward, Song gets into his car and drives away. The next scene shifts to Jae Si-young. A few moments later, Song arrives and hands over Sang's entire slush fund, which has been converted into cryptocurrency. He gives Jae Si-young the account information and login credentials. After completing the transfer, Song drives away. But only moments later, disaster strikes. Kang and Gyul witness a shocking explosion. Song's car suddenly blows up. Gyul is horrified. However, another surprise follows. Song is actually alive. The explosion was part of a plan. Kang and Gyul had secretly helped him escape beforehand. The burning car was only a decoy. Later, they meet Song again in a safe location. During the meeting, it becomes clear that Kang had planned much of this in advance. Before leaving, Song hands over the real cryptocurrency account details to Kang. In return, Kang gives him enough money to support his family for the rest of their lives. Once Song leaves, Kang turns toward Gul. He asks, "Do you trust me now?" Gul is left speechless. Everything that has happened feels unreal. Then Kang reminds her that he made a promise to her father, a promise to protect Choice Group. Finally, he extends an offer. He tells Gul that they should work together. Together, they will take the company back from the people trying to destroy it. And for the first time, it truly feels like they are becoming allies. Afterward, Kang even gives Gul the account ID and password. However, Gul is still not fully convinced. She warns him that she will continue keeping an eye on him. Meanwhile, Jae-si-young discovers something alarming. The account credentials he received are fake. In other words, he has been completely tricked. Furious, he begins suspecting that Song betrayed him. The next day, back at the office, employees are gossiping again. This time, they are talking about Gul and June. Since both of them disappeared the previous day, some workers are even suggesting that they should be fired. Just then, the manager arrives. Instead of criticizing the team, he unexpectedly praises everyone for their hard work and announces that he will personally pay for the next team dinner. Later that evening, Kang arrives at the dinner. When he gets there, Gul is already serving drinks for everyone. The moment Kang sees this, he gets irritated. From his perspective, the daughter of a chairman should not be running around serving drinks. Things get even worse when the manager casually hands Gul an empty glass and asks her to refill it. That is the final straw. Kang immediately speaks up. He says that everyone has hands and should fill their own glasses. Then he complains that the dinner is boring and proposes a drinking competition. Whoever wins gets to make one request, and everyone else must agree to it. The manager instantly accepts. When it's Kang's turn, he reveals his wish. If he wins, there will never be another mandatory team dinner again. The entire staff practically loses their minds. Everyone secretly hates these gatherings. However, against all expectations, Kang wins the competition. The employees are thrilled. Thanks to him, they may finally be free from endless company dinners. After the dinner ends, we see Mr. Park. He is so drunk that he can barely walk. The following morning, we discover that Kang brought him home. When Mr. Park wakes up, he is shocked. The apartment is far nicer than anything he expected from an intern. Realizing he needs an explanation, Kang quickly invents a story. He claims that he is actually Chairman Kang's youngest son. According to him, he has been living secretly all these years and now wants to become the next chairman himself. Then he asks Mr. Park for help. After seeing the luxurious apartment and all the money, Mr. Park surprisingly agrees. In the next scene, Mr. Park drives Kang to work. As soon as they arrive, Gul appears. Without warning, she punches Kang. She angrily demands to know why he let Mr. Park drive while recovering from drinking. Then she starts talking to Mr. Park. For a moment, it looks like he is about to reveal Kang's secret. But before he can say anything, Kang quickly interrupts and drags him away. Privately, he warns Mr. Park never to tell anyone about their conversation. Soon they enter the company building. However, something unusual is happening. The lobby is packed with people. Several investigators have arrived and are asking questions about Song's disappearance. Meanwhile, Sang-yi escorts them upstairs. While all of this is happening, Gul suddenly hides herself. Kang notices and asks why. Gul simply replies that she cannot afford to be seen by certain people. Upstairs, the investigators begin questioning Sang. However, Sang denies every accusation. According to him, Song voluntarily resigned and left the company. Later, another meeting is held. The discussion once again revolves around Song and the missing funds. Sang continues pretending that he knows nothing. Eventually, the topic shifts to company projects. The board asks Sang about the Yashport project. Sang confidently says he still has 1 year left. Then Young proudly announces that her GF Solutions project has already been completed. After the meeting ends, Sang confronts her privately. He points out that she never had enough money to fund a project that large. Young responds by revealing the name of her investor, Siren. However, Sang immediately calls her bluff. According to him, Siren is actually a company she secretly controls. In other words, the investment money came from her own slush funds. Instead of denying it, Young reminds him that she also knows all about his slush funds. So if he wants to keep his secrets buried, he should stay quiet too. Neither sibling is innocent. As they leave the room, Kang and Gul happen to see them arguing. Watching from a distance, Kang realizes something important. If Sang and Young continue fighting each other, it will become much easier to take power away from both of them. A little later, Jeol shows Kang an article. The news reveals that the Yashport project has attracted the interest of Taha Group. The moment Kang sees the name, he becomes angry, because Taha Group belongs to Jae-si-young. In other words, Jae-si-young is now trying to get involved in one of Choice Group's biggest projects. Meanwhile, Sang returns to his office. His wife is waiting for him there. She immediately starts asking questions about Song, but Sang is too angry to think clearly. He keeps repeating that if he ever finds Song, he will make him pay for everything. Elsewhere, Kang discusses the situation with Mr. Park. He explains that if Taha Group joins the port project, they will receive the biggest benefits. Then he starts criticizing Sang. Kang cannot believe that his own son is allowing himself to be manipulated so easily. Frustrated, Kang calls him an idiot. After calming down, he starts thinking of another strategy. At that moment, he remembers the file Ghoul gave him earlier. Back then, he barely looked at it. Now, he finally decides to review it properly. When Ghoul notices him reading it, she becomes confused. However, as Kang studies her proposal, he becomes genuinely impressed. For the first time, he openly praises her work. Then, he simply walks away. Ghoul is left standing there completely confused. And if it really was a compliment, she doesn't understand why she feels so happy about it. Later, Kang logs into the company system and begins investigating Gyeong's project. That's when he discovers something suspicious. He realizes that Gyeong is trying to acquire a small battery company. To him, the reason is obvious. She wants a place to hide the money she has stolen. Soon afterward, Kang approaches Gyeong with a proposal. He brings up the port project and encourages her to take a risk. According to him, if the project succeeds, it could dramatically improve her chances of becoming the next chairman. Gyeong isn't fully convinced. She asks why she should trust him. Kang simply requests one thing. He wants permission to use her name while handling part of the project. Afterward, he leaves with Ghoul. As soon as they're outside, he makes a phone call. Pretending to be a representative from Choice Group Chemicals, he requests a meeting with the governor of Gyeongwon City. In the next scene, Kang and Ghoul arrive to meet the governor's assistant. There, Kang presents the proposal. He explains that if the project is approved, it will create jobs for local residents and help the governor gain political support before the next election. After finishing his presentation, he hands over the project documents. Throughout the conversation, Ghoul just keeps staring at him. She cannot understand how an ordinary former football player suddenly knows so much about business and politics. Meanwhile, Sang's wife visits her father. She informs him that Sang still has no idea where Song is. Elsewhere, life has become miserable for Chairman Kang's wife. Inside the family home, everyone treats her like a servant. She is constantly given chores and even told not to eat meals with the family. While Kang lies unconscious in a hospital bed, his wife is being humiliated in her own home. At the same time, Sang is meeting with Jae Si-young and the mayor of Shachon City. The three men discuss the port project and the situation involving Song. After the meeting, Sang secretly hands the mayor a large amount of money. It's clearly a bribe. However, someone is watching. Mr. Park has secretly taken photographs of the entire exchange. Meanwhile, Kang drives Gyeol home. As they arrive, he notices someone outside. It's his wife. Without thinking, he immediately walks toward her and asks if she is okay. His wife recognizes him as the young man from the hit-and-run incident. Then she quietly admits something surprising. She says she never believed that her husband was the person who hit him. As she speaks, emotions overwhelm her. She clearly misses her husband and still trusts him despite everything happening around her. Watching her suffer like this deeply affects Kang. Back at the house, Jeol walks inside with her mother and realizes how much work her mother has been doing every day. The next morning, Jeol comes up with a plan. Instead of cooking everything herself, she secretly orders food from a hotel and serves it to the family as if she made it personally. At one point, she even serves Gyeong a glass of tap water. Surprisingly, Gyeong likes it and compliments the taste without realizing what she's drinking. Meanwhile, Kang is meeting with Mr. Park. Since Park successfully completed his previous task, Kang rewards him with money and immediately gives him another assignment. This time, he wants a complete investigation into the missing funds. By the next day, Mr. Park delivers the results. He hands over a detailed list showing exactly how much money Jae Si-young has embezzled and the names of everyone connected to the scheme. After receiving the report, Kang heads straight to Gyeong. Just as he is about to sit down, the governor's assistant arrives. The conversation quickly shifts to the port project. The assistant asks for the complete project details. However, Kang immediately raises the stakes. Instead of dealing with an assistant, he says they want to meet the governor directly. According to him, the governor should personally thank Gyeong because the project will benefit both the city and his political career. After hearing this, the assistant leaves. Once she is gone, Gyeong turns toward Kang. She wants to know why he spoke so confidently. Kang calmly explains that they don't need the governor. He needs them. Then he confidently predicts that the governor will call Gyeong personally before the day is over. A moment later, Kang checks his phone and smiles. According to him, half the job is already done. Then he turns on the television. The news immediately reveals why he seems so confident. The mayor of Incheon is publicly announcing his resignation. Soon the full story is revealed. Someone exposed evidence of every bribe he accepted and every corrupt deal he was involved in. Faced with exposure, the mayor had no choice but to step down. The moment Sang sees the news, he explodes with anger. He immediately calls the mayor. The mayor admits that he was blackmailed. Soon afterward, another board meeting is held. This time, Young presents her plans for the port project. However, before she can finish, Sang storms into the meeting. He accuses her of stealing his project. Young doesn't back down. She points out that he was never going to complete it anyway. The argument quickly escalates. But then the board members start discussing the situation. Since the mayor has already resigned, Sang's original plan is practically falling apart. Because of that, the board officially grants Young permission to move forward with the project instead. The decision is a massive victory for her. Everyone starts congratulating Young. Sang, meanwhile, completely loses control. He starts shouting in front of everyone until even his assistant has to drag him away. Elsewhere, Jae Young has finally uncovered new information. He now knows that Kong has been working behind the scenes. More importantly, he has discovered where June is living. At the same time, Kong takes Gul to a restaurant. The place immediately catches her attention. Most people come there for dates or special celebrations. She asks why they couldn't have eaten somewhere more ordinary. Kang simply replies that the food is excellent. Then he hands her a file. When Gul opens it, she is completely shocked. The land she previously transferred to her siblings is now back under her ownership. Confused, she asks how this happened. Kang explains that he used his connection with Gyeong to transfer the property back. Gul still doesn't understand because the land doesn't seem valuable, but Kang disagrees. He explains that within a few years, the area will become a major tourist destination. If that happens, the property's value will skyrocket. Hearing all this leaves Gul speechless. After a moment, she asks him a surprisingly direct question. Do you like me? For a second, it looks like Kang is caught off guard, but instead of answering, he immediately changes the subject. A few moments later, he claims he has received an important call and steps outside. As soon as he leaves, someone unexpected appears. It's Chairman Kang's wife. Gul is confused and asks why she is there. His wife looks equally confused. She says that Gul invited her and even sent her a message asking her to come. Gul quickly checks her phone. That's when she discovers a message from June. It says that he already paid for everything and that she should simply enjoy the evening with her mother. At that moment, Gul realizes what happened. Kang secretly arranged a special dinner between mother and daughter. Meanwhile, Kang's wife becomes emotional. She mentions that this restaurant was one of the favorite places she and her husband used to visit together. Gil has no idea how June could possibly know that. Of course, the answer is simple. The man she knows as June is actually her father. From a distance, Kang quietly watches the two of them sharing a meal. For a brief moment, he looks genuinely happy. Later that night, Kang heads to his private garage. But the moment he returns inside, he realizes something is wrong. Several people are already waiting for him, and standing in front of them is Gyeong. She stares directly at him and smirks. Then she says something that instantly changes the atmosphere. What made you think I wouldn't find out? According to Gyeong, she finally knows who he really is. Gyeong says that even after suffering a serious leg injury, he was still participating in racing. She says she knows Sang Yi sent him there and that he has been working together with Sang Yi. According to her, Sang Yi knows all the secret codes and must have told him everything. Then she asks where he got such an expensive watch worth millions. She is convinced that Ji-sung gave it to him and that he is secretly working for him. At that moment, Gyeong's men grab him and start punching him. The chairman quickly says that he had only gone there to destroy the car. He planned to crash into it from the side and ruin it completely. However, he says he is so poor that he could not even manage to do that properly. Meanwhile, we see the chairman pretending to become emotional. Soon after, he starts acting angry toward Gyeong. He tells her that he was the one who helped her secure the port deal, yet she still betrayed him. He warns her that he will not let this go and will tell Sang Yi everything. He says that if she wants to stop him, she must apologize to him, otherwise he will never join her company. However, Gyeong is far too prideful to do that. She immediately says that it will never happen and walks away. Before leaving, she tells one of her men to keep a close eye on him. Later, the chairman is inside a garage. While looking at the cars, he says that driving them always makes him feel good. Just then, Ji-sung arrives and suddenly grabs him. He notices the VIP hotel card inside the chairman's pocket and asks where he got it from. The chairman then tells him everything about who he really is. However, Ji-sung still cannot believe it. To prove himself, the chairman starts mentioning all the conversations they had shared in the past, things that only the two of them could know. Even after hearing all of that, Ji-sung remains skeptical. He asks who told him all these things. The chairman simply says that he is currently inside this young man's body, and that Ji-sung will soon understand everything. He also takes back the VIP card. Ji-sung is left completely confused. His head starts hurting while trying to understand everything. Meanwhile, the chairman drives away laughing, saying that Ji-sung's head must be hurting terribly right now. While driving, the chairman realizes that someone is following him. Because of this, he decides to stay at Jun's house for the night. Just then, the nurse calls him and informs him that his grandmother's medical checkup has been completed, and that he can take her home if he wants. However, the chairman tells her to move his grandmother into another room because there is no need to send her home yet. Since Gyeong's men are still watching his every move, the chairman has no choice but to spend the night at Jin's house. The next morning, we see Jae Si-young with his daughter. His daughter is frustrated because the 500 billion won deal has slipped away from them. The sports project they were supposed to join is no longer theirs. At that moment, Sang arrives. He looks both angry and disappointed. He says that he will never back down from his sister, and that he will soon become the next chairman. Jae Si-young asks him how exactly he plans to do that, but Sang has no answer. Meanwhile, Sang's wife starts putting on an act. She begins shouting at her father and asks how he can speak to her husband like that. Seeing this, Sang becomes pleased. Then, Jae Si-young tells him that he can take as much money as he wants. He says that whatever his sister did to him, he should do exactly the same thing to her. In other words, he should buy GF Solution before she can. Hearing this, Sang becomes extremely happy and immediately thanks his father-in-law. On the other side, we see Gyeong practicing boxing. After finishing her training session, her assistant approaches her and gives her all the information he has gathered about the chairman. Soon, Gyeong starts discussing GF Solution. Her assistant explains that the company has taken on too many loans and is no longer able to pay them back. However, someone else is secretly listening to this conversation. It is Gul. After hearing everything, she immediately sends a message to the chairman, warning him that Gyeong is planning to bankrupt GF Solution. The chairman confidently replies that as long as he is around, that will never happen. Right after that, he calls Mr. Park and asks whether he has completed the task that was assigned to him. Then we are shown what happened the previous night. We see Mr. Park secretly entering the chairman's office. He goes into the chairman's hidden room and takes a large amount of cash from there. The next day, he meets the chairman again, who gives him some money. During their conversation, Mr. Park says that he never knew the chairman's son would be involved in all of this. Then he jokingly says that the chairman was not very handsome anyway. The chairman immediately snatches the money back from him and tells him to stop talking nonsense. He then says that he is going somewhere important with Gul. In the next scene, Gyeong is meeting several bank presidents. She is trying to secure loans so that she can buy GF Solution. At the same time, Sang is also trying to acquire GF Solution because he refuses to let his sister win. Meanwhile, the chairman and Gul are talking. The chairman tells her that she needs to wear nice clothes because they are going somewhere important. Soon, the two leave together. However, Gyeong's men are still secretly following the chairman. Back at the office, Manager Park is trying his best to make everyone believe that Gul and the chairman are still inside working. Just then, Sang-yi arrives and asks where Jun is. Since Jun is not there, Sang-yi picks up his diary and tears out one of the pages. He then compares the handwriting on that page with the chairman's handwriting. To his surprise, both handwritings are exactly the same. At that very moment, Sang-yi receives a message from the chairman. The message says that they should meet at the same place where they always used to meet. After seeing the handwriting and receiving that message, Sang-yi finally realizes the truth. He understands that this young man is actually the chairman himself. After that, the chairman arrives at Gul's house together with her. As soon as he enters, he notices something that makes him angry. Gul's children are treating their grandmother like a servant. They are ordering her around and showing her no respect. Seeing this, the chairman becomes furious. However, instead of directly scolding them, he starts talking to his grandchildren. He behaves as if their grandfather is secretly watching them and could appear at any moment. Then he tells them a few things that only the real chairman could know. The moment the children hear those details, they become terrified. They immediately run to their grandmother, apologize to her, and even thank her for cooking food for them. Meanwhile, Jewel comes downstairs wearing fancy clothes because she wants to impress someone. At first, her mother gets angry after seeing her outfit. Then we see the chairman telling her that he asked her to change her clothes, not to wear something like that. Jewel quickly says that she will go and change again. However, just as she turns around, the chairman tries to stop her. At that moment, Jewel loses her balance and almost falls. The chairman quickly catches her in his arms, but by now, Jewel has already started falling for him. For a moment, she just keeps staring at him. The chairman then says that it is fine, and that they can leave with the clothes she is already wearing. In the next scene, we are introduced to the CEO of GF Solution, Mr. Kim. At this point, all the loans that Mr. Kim was depending on have been blocked. Because of that, the company is running out of money. Even the employees are beginning to leave because they are afraid the company will collapse. A little later, Young arrives to meet him. She tells him that his company is sinking and that it will soon go bankrupt. Therefore, she wants to buy the company before everything falls apart. However, shortly afterward, Sang also arrives. He tells Mr. Kim that he already knows everything about the company. He even reveals that Gyeong herself was the one responsible for blocking the company's loans. Then, he offers Mr. Kim 100 billion won and asks him to sell the company to him instead. However, Mr. Kim becomes annoyed and throws him out. Meanwhile, the chairman is secretly watching everything. That night, the chairman goes to meet Mr. Kim personally. When they begin discussing the company, Mr. Kim says that he has no intention of selling it to anyone. He says the company may sink together with him, but he will never hand it over to somebody else. At that moment, the chairman introduces himself as Manager J. He says that his boss would like to speak with him. He then hands Mr. Kim a business card from Smiley Investment. Soon, Gyul begins talking with Mr. Kim. She says that she wants to invest in his company. The chairman then proposes an investment of 5 billion won. In exchange, they want a 30% stake in the company. Mr. Kim immediately becomes suspicious. He thinks they are trying to take over his company. However, the chairman explains that they can later help him sell the company for 300 billion won if he wants. In simple terms, Mr. Kim stands to gain almost 800 billion won from the entire deal. After hearing this, he finally agrees and asks what he needs to do next. A little later, the chairman says that he has somewhere important to go. Gul immediately becomes curious. She starts thinking that maybe he has a girlfriend and is going to meet her. She even asks him directly, but the chairman refuses to answer and says it is a secret. Mr. Kim also joins the teasing and says that he is probably going to meet his girlfriend. In the next scene, we see Sang Yi waiting for someone at a park. The person he is waiting for is none other than the chairman. When the chairman finally arrives, Sang Yi becomes emotional. He apologizes and says that he feels guilty about everything that happened to him. However, the chairman comforts him and says that none of it was his fault. He says that his own children turned out to be useless, so there is nothing Sang Yi could have done. Afterward, we see the two of them eating together. During their conversation, Sang Yi mentions the sports project and says that the chairman handled everything by himself. The chairman then reveals that Gul is also involved in the project now. Of course, Gul still has no idea that the real chairman is currently living inside this young man's body. The next day, Gyeong goes to meet Mr. Kim again. However, when she arrives, Sang is already sitting there. After a short discussion, he leaves. Mr. Kim then tells Gyeong that he will sell the factory to whoever offers him the highest amount of money. He also explains that he now has enough funds to keep the company running. When Gyeong comes outside, she notices that all the workers are suddenly busy working. This is actually part of the chairman's plan. The chairman had instructed Mr. Kim to hire more workers so that everyone would believe the factory was operating normally and successfully. Meanwhile, both brother and sister continue searching for money. The bidding war between them keeps increasing. Eventually, Sang raises the offer all the way to 300 billion won. Seeing this, Gyeong becomes frustrated because she simply does not have that much money available. Just then, the chairman appears in front of her. He calmly tells her that he can still help her. Gyeong immediately says that there is nothing he can do. However, the chairman confidently replies that he absolutely can. Gyeong stops him and finally asks what he wants in return. The chairman says that before anything else, she must apologize for what she did earlier. We then see something completely unexpected. Despite all her pride and arrogance, Gyeong actually apologizes. Even Gul is shocked after seeing this. At the same time, the chairman becomes slightly emotional while looking at his daughter behaving this way. After that, he tells Gyeong to bring 300 billion won and come with him. Meanwhile, Sang goes to meet Mr. Kim so that they can finalize the contract and signatures. However, when he arrives, Mr. Kim is nowhere to be found. On the other side, Kyung is reviewing the company documents. While reading them, she notices something strange. 30% of the company's shares belong to an unknown person. She has no idea who owns them. Because of this, she immediately says that she no longer wants to buy the company. However, Mr. Kim then tells her that Sang is calling non-stop because he desperately wants to purchase the company despite that 30% stake. After thinking carefully, Kyung finally decides to go ahead with the purchase. Later, we see Mr. Kim thanking the chairman for everything. Mr. Kim then asks whose name he should transfer that mysterious 30% ownership to. The chairman smiles and says that it should be transferred to Smiley Investment. In reality, the chairman has secretly given 30% ownership of GF Solution to his youngest daughter, Gul. A little later, we see the chairman celebrating together with Kyung. Kyung tells him that he has done so much for her and asks what he wants as a reward. The chairman immediately says that he wants one share of Choice Sang Trading because he knows that one day he will be the one running that company. Kyung laughs and tells him that it is definitely possible because he has more potential than anyone else. Meanwhile, Sang is feeling miserable because he has lost yet another important project. His wife tells him that he must do something and even suggests blackmailing his sister. However, Sang says that his sister has no weaknesses that he can use against her. Then suddenly he remembers something important. He remembers that Kyung once tried to kill their father. He immediately tells his wife about it. After hearing this, his wife becomes interested and asks him to explain everything in detail. In the final scene, we see the chairman on a flight. Gyul is sitting beside him because the two of them are traveling somewhere together. While talking, the chairman suddenly winks at Gyul. The moment she sees that wink, her heart starts racing uncontrollably. Now we see Kyung getting closer to becoming the next chairman. Most people in the company are supporting her. Meanwhile, after suffering a major defeat, Sang has stopped coming to the office. His team members are worried and keep wondering what will happen to them. At that moment, Sang's wife arrives and announces that Sang will not return for now. She says she will handle things as director, though she immediately tells everyone not to call her that. Soon, the employees begin discussing an important project. Rena suggests changing the project's location and confidently says her father's company will fully support the move. On the other hand, the chairman and his team have arrived in Uvilia country. After checking into a hotel, they learn that only one room is available. The chairman immediately complains that he cannot stay with Mr. Kim because his loud snoring kept everyone awake on the flight. At the same time, Gal notices the chairman acting suspiciously and asks if he really traveled all this way for such a simple reason. The chairman finally reveals his true goal. He wants to teach Jae Se-young a lesson for trying to harm his company. Later in the room, he explains his entire plan. Jae Se-young has come to secure lithium resources and plans to strike a deal with the country's president. However, the chairman intends to buy the land himself through Smiley Investment so that Choice Company never discovers his involvement. Later, he can merge everything into his own company. The chairman also reveals that Sang Yi has already purchased Kamin, an American company. By combining both companies, they will be able to develop valuable solid-state batteries in the future. Hearing all this, Gal is impressed and tells him he is already acting like a true chairman. Mr. Kim continues supporting the chairman's decisions, making Gal curious. When she asks why, the chairman admits that he lied to Mr. Kim and told him he was actually the chairman's son. A short while later, Sang Yi calls and asks about their trip. During the conversation, he informs them that Gyung has scheduled a succession meeting for next week and is still pretending to stay in the hospital while her wife handles office matters. Back at the company, Gyung hosts a dinner party. Sang's wife also attends, and the two begin talking. At that moment, Gyung receives a message from the chairman warning her to keep a close eye on Sang's wife because Tahoe Group may be secretly working behind Choice Trading. Gyung realizes she has had the same suspicion for a long time. She directly warns Sang's wife that she will be watching her carefully. After leaving the party, Gyung arranges a secret meeting. Meanwhile, the chairman cannot focus because Mr. Kim keeps bothering him. While wandering through the hotel, he notices Gal's room light is still on. Curious, he approaches her room. When Gal opens the door, he explains that he assumes she was working. Gal reminds him that he asked her to gain the Prime Minister's trust, so she has been preparing for that mission. A moment later, Gal admits she is hungry and begins eating instant noodles with homemade kimchi that her mother packed for her. As soon as the chairman hears this, he grabs the kimchi container and even offers to pay for it. The two sit together and continue talking. Gal shares stories about studying abroad and takes the chance to complain about the chairman a little. Elsewhere, the chairman's wife spends time with her grandsons. The boys suddenly behave very kindly and thank her. Surprised, she asks what changed. They reveal that the mysterious uncle who visited recently told them their grandfather is still watching watching over them. Just then, Kyung arrives and sweetly talks to her mother. She claims she has brought overseas doctors to help her father recover. After gaining her mother's trust, she admits that she wants to become the next chairman and asks for support. Her mother eventually agrees. However, Kyung's husband secretly overhears everything. Later that night, Kyung returns to her room. Her husband asks what really happened earlier because he noticed the flower pot had fallen. Kyung avoids the subject and says she is simply happy. Outside, the chairman's wife accidentally overhears the conversation. Hearing Kyung talk about becoming chairman leaves her feeling disappointed. Meanwhile, Sang's wife discusses business with Sang. She points out that Kyung is dreaming of becoming chairman and asks why he doesn't transfer some shares into her name. Sang replies that she should do whatever she thinks is best. He also mentions that Gal is currently away on a trip. The next morning, Mr. Kim finds the chairman and Gal asleep and wakes them up. Soon, they begin carrying out their mission. Disguised as a Japanese couple, they pretend to be lost tourists while secretly gathering information and taking photos. One of their targets is Secretary Ju, the president's personal secretary. As he leaves, the chairman and Gal quietly follow him, while Mr. Kim monitors everything from a distance. At the same time, JC Young's researchers are also nearby. They complain that they were paid very little despite helping secure a highly profitable deal. While planning a celebration party in their hotel room, they have no idea that the chairman has a different plan. Before the party begins, he secretly switches their bottles. Back at the hospital, Gyeong's husband stands beside the chairman's bed and secretly injects him with something to keep him unconscious. However, the chairman's wife suddenly arrives and catches him. He tries to defend himself by saying that someone else would eventually do it anyway. This only makes her more suspicious, and she demands the truth. In another scene, Gyeong politely calls the chairman's wife and asks for support at the upcoming board meeting. The chairman's wife agrees, but after ending the call, her angry expression suggests she has other plans. Elsewhere, Sang's wife meets an influential businessman who lost the port project after its location changed. During the discussion, Jun's name comes up. The secretary explains that Jun and Gal work together and seem unusually close. Hearing this, Sang's wife immediately assumes there is something going on between them. Back in Uvilia country, the chairman's plan works perfectly. After drinking from the switched bottles, all the researchers lose consciousness. Taking advantage of the situation, the chairman, Gal, and Mr. Kim collect their important documents and bring them back to the hotel. While examining the files, they discover something shocking. JC Young has been deceiving the president by reporting only half of the actual lithium reserves while investing very little money. In other words, he planned to make massive profits through fraud. After learning this, the chairman asks where JC Young is. Mr. Kim reveals that he is currently attending a party with the president. Without wasting time, the trio heads there immediately. When Gal arrives, she looks stunning, and even the chairman compliments her appearance. Secretly pleased, Gal smiles to herself. Meanwhile, JC Young and the president are moments away from signing the contract. Just then, Mr. Kim intentionally spills wine, creating chaos and delaying the signing. At that exact moment, the chairman and Gal step forward. They expose JC Young's entire scheme. The president is shocked and immediately orders JC Young to leave. Furious, JC Young demands to know who the chairman really is. The chairman calmly replies that he will find out soon enough. Inside the meeting room, the president begins discussing a deal with the chairman. Surprisingly, the chairman refuses, saying he cannot blindly trust strangers. Suddenly, Gal remembers that Sang Yi purchased Kamen. Realizing the president's side desperately needs Kamen's technology, she suggests offering it in exchange for cooperation. The chairman likes the idea, and Gal successfully begins negotiating. Back in Korea, Gyeong meets with the audit team and spends the evening trying to win them over. After drinking heavily, she is being escorted home when Sang's wife suddenly stops her. A tense confrontation follows. Gyeong accuses her of controlling Sang and secretly trying to take over the trading company. Instead of backing down, Sang's wife delivers a brutal response. She reminds Gyeong that she even tried to kill her own father. She then blackmails Gyeong, demanding that the port project be transferred into her name and that Gyeong personally apologized to her father. In return, she promises to support Gyeong's path to becoming chairman. Meanwhile, overseas, the chairman's team successfully finalizes the agreement with the president. Gal is thrilled because their mission has succeeded. At the same time, JC Young is interrogating his own people and demanding answers. While reviewing CCTV footage, he discovers that the chairman, Gal, and Mr. Kim stole the documents. He rushes to their hotel, but they are already gone. Furious, he orders everyone to find them. Later, the chairman and Gal board their flight home. During the flight, Gal falls asleep peacefully. Watching her, the chairman becomes emotional and thinks proudly about how much his daughter has grown. After arriving at the airport, everyone takes selfies to celebrate. However, the happy mood disappears when Gal receives a call from her crying mother. Gal rushes home, where her mother finally reveals the shocking truth. Gyung once tried to kill her father. Hearing this, Gal becomes emotional. The chairman then tells her that the time has finally come for her to step forward. Soon, the day of the board meeting arrives. Gyung confidently asks who supports her becoming the next chairman. One by one, most board members raise their hands. Even Sang's wife supports her. Believing victory is certain, Gyung invites her mother to speak. The chairman's wife shocks everyone. She announces that she does not support Gyung. Instead, she says her husband will soon regain consciousness and personally decide who deserves the position. Until then, Sang-yi will handle major decisions. Then Sang-yi drops another bombshell. He reveals that Gyung's project involves hidden partners. The board immediately becomes alarmed, fearing an outside takeover. Using this opportunity, Sang-yi proposes creating a strategic planning team under the chairman's office to protect the company from external threats. Most board members quickly approve the proposal, including Sang. Finally, Sang-yi introduces the team members. To everyone's surprise, the team consists of Mr. Kim, the chairman, and Gal. Then comes the biggest shock of all. Gal steps forward and reveals her true identity as the chairman's youngest daughter. The entire room falls silent. Everyone is stunned. As the shocked faces fill the room, the chairman stands there wearing a confident, almost evil smile. And with that dramatic twist, the episode comes to an end.